Thank you, Wang Qinglong, for that introduction. Thank you to the Weatherhead Institute for inviting me. I'm pleased to have an opportunity to express my gratitude to Columbia University for the good education you gave me. The real title of my talk today is Guns, Wheelchairs, and Shark's Fin Soup. Now, I'm not going to tell you right now what my meaning is. That will become apparent soon enough. What I'm going to do is examine some basic parameters of Taiwan society, economy, and politics. I will then speculate on what Taiwan might look like in around 15 years if these trends continue. I suspect that this outcome may not be satisfactory, so I'm going to offer some recommendations on what should be done to achieve a better outcome. I'm not going to focus on Taiwan's future political relationship with the mainland, and I assume that the fundamental dispute between the two sides will not be solved by then. So what do we know about these basic trends? A couple of things we know with a fairly high degree of confidence. One is that Taiwan's population will reach its maximum fairly soon. One estimate was 2030, and now there may be another estimate of sometime in this decade. Also we know that the working age population will decline as a percentage of the whole population, and the number of old people who depend on the working age population will grow. Other things are harder to predict, but we can look at what we know today, or think we know, and because that suggests trends about the future. The following facts seem pertinent. First of all, the economy is increasingly post-industrial. Second, economic inequality is trending upward. Third, the unemployment rate was higher in the past decade than it was in the decade before. Fourth, tertiary education is expanding, but there's some question about the quality of the people who graduate. Fifth, the central government budget has been basically flat over the last few years. The tax burden in Taiwan ranks pretty low among advanced countries. It's 58th and South Korea is 45th. The defense budget has been basically flat, around 3%, and the government debt is growing. So the picture that this data paints is consistent with our general impression of Taiwan, a prosperous, well-educated, middle-class, demographically mature society with small families. Some parts of the economy have moved up the economic and technology ladder, but I have the impression that parts of the service sector are pretty inefficient. In GDP per capita, Taiwan approaches some of the countries of Western Europe. In many respects, it has a lot in common with South Korea. But even though Taiwan seems in some respects to be moving towards a Western European or even Scandinavian direction, the comparison really doesn't work. Taiwan taxpayers are not now underwriting a Western European style welfare state, but they may need to move in that direction. And Taiwan does not exist in a Scandinavian security environment. I would say that even if China, the source of Taiwan's insecurity, did not exist, Taiwan would still face a number of tough choices as a society. The most serious is the aging of the population, as Vice President Xiao pointed out. Fewer working people supporting a growing number of elderly with all the costs that this entails. The options appear to be increasing immigration, including from the mainland, increasing taxes, or reducing social services. Another choice or dilemma has to do with preserving economic competitiveness. Taiwan has some outstanding companies. The best have become solid links in global supply chains, but we can't assume that Chinese entrepreneurs who are lower down in the supply chain will want to stay there forever. They will want to move up. So what do Taiwan companies do then? Can they find new niches of comparative advantage, or do they get displaced? How can Taiwan ensure general prosperity, high quality employment, and reasonable inequality? We do have some idea of the effect of ECFA or not doing ECFA. Economists have estimated that Taiwan's GDP will be 4 or 5% higher in 10 years if ECFO goes through, and it will actually be lower if it does not. Now let's bring China back into the picture and address the security issue. That is, how will the leaders and the people of the island balance the desire for a good standard of living for all citizens and, on the other hand, the need to ensure external security? What levels of security is appropriate? One thing we know for sure is that the buildup of the People's Liberation Army is going to continue. Some of the PLA's capabilities will not have a Taiwan mission, but others will. So Taiwan leaders may succeed for a while in their policy of accommodation, but they are likely to remain concerned that China may feel driven at some point to pursue a policy of coercion. Now, we all know the constraints that exist on Taiwan's national defense. A new one is the transition to an all-volunteer army, which may require transferring resources from military investment to personnel, or increasing the defense budget. So, Taiwan faces difficult choices: how to maintain competitiveness in a globalized economy, how to assure both growth and relative equality, how to balance the desire for prosperity and the need for high-quality social services, and how to guarantee both a good life and national security. So we come back to my weird title. In America, we said during the Vietnam War that we faced a trade-off between guns and butter. I would suggest that Taiwan will increasingly face the trade-off between guns, wheelchairs, and shark's fin soup. Security, welfare, and prosperity. Now, I apologize to any environmentalists in the audience for picking shark's fin soup as my metaphor for a prosperous Chinese society. If you can come up with a better one, please tell me. The danger, of course, is that Taiwan will seek to muddle through rather than face the choices that are looming. The priorities of government today are pretty well established and hard to change. They reflect more or less what the people of the island want. Many people lead pretty comfortable lives. There's no sense of crisis. And the consequences of not acting occur in the long term, whereas the public choices take place in the short term. I think, however, that if Taiwan chooses to muddle through as present trends continue, three effects are not improbable. First, the Taiwan economy will be less competitive globally. Second, there will be a suboptimal response to the challenge of providing welfare and prosperity. And third, Taiwan's military power will continue to decline relative to the PRCs. Now, we may ask, what is the effect of such an outcome on public consciousness? And that's a little bit hard to say. I expect, however, that I do think that the average Taiwanese thinks most about whether their standard of living is better than that of their parents, whether it's getting better or worse for them, and whether it's going to be better for their children. These are the concerns that shape their social identity. I fear that one likely result of the continuation of current trends will be deeper public doubt and disagreement about what Taiwan is and what it means. Another is the decline in the public's sense of confidence about the future and about the competence of the island's institutions to address the dilemmas at hand. Having a consensus on fundamental identity and a strong sense of confidence will be crucial to meeting the biggest challenge of all, the desire of China for reunification. Muddling through is a choice, but it doesn't appear to be appropriate to the challenges that Taiwan faces. Other countries face these dilemmas, to be sure, including the United States, but the stakes are probably highest for Taiwan. Now, I am aware, through personal experience, of the impressive history that Taiwan has shown high resilience in meeting challenges. Even now, it has many strengths. Because Taiwan has escaped from predicaments before, to the surprise of the whole world, it follows that it can do so again. If it is to meet these future challenges, however, it will probably be by proactively changing the current course, changing the current trends, and remedying the weaknesses that are already apparent. Now, what do I have in mind in this program of self-strengthening? First is economic policy. The big challenge, of course, is to maintain Taiwan's competitiveness in the economic regionalization occurring in East Asia. Concluding ECFA is an important way of doing that. It creates the possibility that Taiwan can get inside the circle of regionalization. However, ECFA will pose a great challenge to Taiwan because there will be winners and losers. There is a role for government in cushioning the blow that will be faced by the sunset industries and facilitating the rise of the sunrise industries. I see my friend Don Shapiro here. AmCham actually has a number of good ideas on how Taiwan can prepare for this creative destruction. Second, I think Taiwan has to continue to enhance its military strength and capabilities. This involves procurement of appropriate advanced equipment. It involves having a good defense strategy. It requires resources, both budgetary and personnel. Third, Taiwan must have a strong relationship with the United States, if only because the United States is the central element of Taiwan's real defense strategy. But there are other ways that our relations can be strengthened. Fourth, I think that Taiwan needs to strengthen its sense of its core interests vis-a-vis China so that it can be able better to defend them when the time comes. Key among these is how the island's leaders define Taiwan's sovereignty and how negotiations with Beijing affect that definition. I don't have to tell you that politics is at the heart of self-strengthening. Unless the political system is capable of making good choices on these issues, they will not be made. But the prognosis here is worrisome. The political spectrum is polarized when it seems that it would be better to have a dominant centrist consensus. The norms and practices of the legislature do not foster good policy making. The constitutional structure needs reforming. The media does not play a constructive role. I have to acknowledge that the United States has some of these same problems, but I think the stakes are higher for Taiwan. Now, in identifying these points of weakness, I don't mean to criticize the current administration. I think the statement we just had from Vice President Xiao indicates that the Ma administration is actually aware of many of these problems and is at least thinking about the ways to address them. But my message, I think, is clear. Taiwan needs to strengthen itself to meet the various challenges that it faces. Improving Taiwan's capacity in these various areas is important for its own sake, but it will also improve the public's sense of self-confidence and ensure a strong position for the government in its future negotiations with Beijing. The fact that Taiwan's government and people have responded with resiliency to past challenges is proof that they can do it again. Avoiding a choice between guns, wheelchairs, and shark's fin soup, I think, will not be easy, but it is certainly worth trying. Thank you very much.